So we've done this before in the past, and I had a boss once tell me that his vote was worth more than mine. So are all the players essentially considered equally competent to spend their money? Because not all customers have the same market share for it. I mean,
yeah, that's right. So there's a couple of different ways that you can solve that problem. You could give different players different money. I mean, and that you could give your bigger customers more money.
Okay.
Or you could, to my friend over in the corner, you could segment the people who are involved in the game. You could say, I'm going to have a game with my big important customers, and I'm going to have a game with my small, less influential customers. And I'll look at the results of those two things and obviously prioritize the ones that match and overlap. I think, though, that there is definitely a leadership style that's influenced by agile practices, which value transparency and collaboration. And so when we did the game for VeriSign, we stripped away the titles and other than the first names, and many times it was literally impossible that people knew if they were playing with a manager or not, explicitly because what Sally said is, hey, I know what my managers want. She was the senior vice president of global customer care. She knew what her leaders wanted. She wanted to know what the 200 people feet on the street wanted. So, will I be able to sell my software to all organizations? Nope. I'm okay with that. Because there's a set of organizations who are still going to be more command control, less agile, less collaborative than others, and that's okay.
If this gets you 70% of the way toward a decision in a few days, that's better than most organizations.
That's kind of my feeling, right? So, any other? Go ahead. A couple more questions. We'll do questions no longer than 8 o'clock, and then we'll get up and do something. Go ahead.
So, it seems like the intention of this is to try to understand prioritization of different features.
Of different things.
Of different things, right.
Things,
So
yeah.
in that case, why would you put different prices on features at all? Why
You can have everything be the same price.
All the same, and then that'll tell you how much customers value them, and then you take that back to your development organization and say, okay, this is what customers want, and then you figure out which.
Again, your call. You can price them all the same. That's not a problem. Like, we did a game for a client where their global marketing team wanted to prioritize market segments. They had 12 market segments: Gen X, Gen Y, baby boomers, retirees. We priced each market segment the same, and then we looked at what the global leadership team wanted to pursue for that company. Again, this isn't a class in innovation games and how to actually use them as a market research technique. What I'm going to say is, what is your question and what will you do with the answer? If your question is something that lends itself to neutral pricing or similar pricing, then that's what you should do. Most of the time, though, Steve's point is that customers have a sense. Your customers aren't stupid, right? They may be demanding. They may want a high-quality product, but they're definitely not stupid. And so they actually know when they're asking many times for something that's easy or hard, right? If they ask you for this really hard thing, they're kind of aware that it's hard if they've been using the product for a while. At least that's my experience.
So in essence, is it like trying to play what goes in a buyer's mind? For example, in this sunglasses example, if I were to go and buy sunglasses, I'm looking at a whole bunch of them and I'm thinking through, should I get this or that feature, that cost, and I'm thinking through that during the buying process. Is it getting that thinking process right up front at the product development time?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be features, right? I mean, the point is that it's items. May I have permission to be the crazy, wide-eyed entrepreneur for just a moment? Sure. May I have your permission? Sure. Okay. I want to show you something. Because we did our first one today. It took a while to ferret this out. I timed out. So, that's not working. I thought I made it public. This is a test game. We haven't played it yet. But what if I wanted to improve democracy? What if I wanted to say that there's a ton of money coming? Oh wait, there is. There's a ton of money coming. And we've got projects. And wouldn't it be nice to have a mechanism where people could prioritize. Now, have you seen systems where you're allowed to submit your idea and then people plus up or plus down vote it? Yeah. Have you seen those systems?
Yeah.
Would you like to know all the ways they're terrible or just some of the ways they're terrible?
How about some?
Do the top two.
The top, how about the top three?
Top three.
Top 10. David on the top 3 reason idea submission systems are terrible when they're organized like that. Number 1, no one page is past the second screen. Therefore, you don't know when there is something better or worse. And what really happens is the vocal minority, when a new idea is submitted, they glom on their own stuff and they plus up, plus down it in such a way that it gains the system in a negative way. Number 2, when people submit ideas, they forget that to go from here to there, I actually had to go one step at a time. And so many of those systems have the quality where whoever submits the bigger, better, cooler thing gets it plus up voted, and then the people who have those ideas to deal with don't have a path forward. There's no representation of growth and time in those systems. So you can't say, to get to this thing, I need this thing in front of it. The third thing, and I'll stop at 3 because I promised I would. The third thing is that those systems have qualities where the things that people are comparing are not congruent in the sense of being comparable. They're literally comparing apples and oranges and bananas, as opposed to something that a person planned as being reasonably together. So what I'd be interested in is, here are the Santa Clara water projects and the price points for Mike Honda. Wouldn't it be interesting to put this online and see what the citizenry of Santa Clara really thought was important? Interesting. So one of our dreams is to literally change and improve the democratic process through collaborative decision making. Not all we'll get there, we'll find out.
Well, so the top options would be give the money to the banks, the insurance companies, or I don't know what the third one would be. Yeah.
And those would all be zero price.
Right, right.
Right. Does that help? I mean, it can be it's a prioritization game because the basic, well, at least in my world, right? I'm not Larry Ellison, right? In my world, limited resources. I don't have enough money or time to do the stuff that I need to do. I gotta prioritize. Prioritization is a core part of life. Now, our business model, just as an aside, is if public games like this are free. We're making the use of our system for this kind of a thing free. So if you're working, for example, as a hobbyist on an open source project, and your open source team is prioritizing a group of items for the next release of your open source thing, you can use our system, no problem. Knock stuff out. So far, so good? Okay, so